So this is the Ledger Flex, and this is the new Ledger Nano Gen 5. At first glance, it's easy to mix these two up. They're almost identical with just a few small differences, but one of those differences is actually a huge win for users, but I'll get to that in a bit. By the way, if you decide this is the right wallet for you, my link in the description will take you directly to the manufacturer's website, where you will get the best possible price or deal, whatever's going on, so check it out. Right away, you'll notice the shape. It's basically the same footprint as the Flex, same screen size. Overall, it's very reminiscent of Ledger's other touchscreen wallets. It even works exactly like the Flex and the Stacks. But the second you compare it to the old Nano models, the S Plus and the Nano X, the Gen 5 feels like a massive upgrade. I mean, there's really no comparison. Those older models had tiny little screens and physical buttons, which just don't feel great once you've used a full touchscreen like this. The previous Nanos also used a less efficient LED display. The Gen 5, along with the Flex and the Stacks, all moved to e-ink. That one change alone nearly doubles the battery life, up to 10 hours, even with the bigger screens. Now, e-ink does have one trade-off. There's no backlight, so just like the Flex and the Stacks, you can't use this in the dark. Now, when comparing all the different touchscreens between these models, there are a few subtle differences. The Stacks has the largest curved plastic e-ink screen, the Flex uses a smaller Gorilla Glass e-ink screen, and the Gen 5 also uses a glass screen. In terms of clarity, the Flex definitely looks the cleanest, followed by the Stacks and then the Gen 5. But honestly, you'd have to stare pretty hard to notice a difference. The Gen 5's text just looks a little blockier, but it doesn't affect readability at all. Functionality-wise, all three respond equally fast and accurately to touch. The next big difference is the build. The Gen 5 is all plastic. Now, all of Ledger's touchscreen models have built-in magnets, but on this one, they're really only there for the folio case that you can get for it. Meanwhile, the Flex and Stacks go a step further with full metal shells that can literally stack together, which is cool, but also not really necessary. Also, the Gen 5 doesn't do this. I love that sound. But assuming you can look past the small stuff, the Gen 5 is the obvious star of this lineup. Not because it's the flashiest design, but because it does everything the more expensive models do with the same level of security for a lot less money. And this is the big difference I was talking about at the beginning of the video, the price. You're getting the same tech, the same performance, the same security, but without the extra cost. So you could drop $400 on the Stacks, $250 on the Flex, or $179 on the Gen 5, and when you actually line up what you're getting, the Gen 5 just makes a lot of sense. Alright, since we're talking about security, let's get into that next. The Ledger wallets generate a 24-word seed phrase by default when you create a new wallet, which is the most secure standard you can get. Of course, if you're upgrading from another wallet, you can also just import your existing seed phrase into this one. It also has 4 to 8-digit PIN protection with a built-in self-destruct mechanism, which sounds a lot more intense than it actually is, but basically it just means that if someone enters the wrong PIN 3 times, the device wipes itself clean back to factory settings, so no one can brute force their way into your wallet. It also offers passphrase protection, sometimes called a hidden wallet or a 25th word seed phrase. This lets you add an additional word or phrase to the end of your 24-word seed phrase, creating a completely separate hidden wallet with its own set of receiving addresses. And here's what a lot of people don't realize. You can create an unlimited number of wallets using the passphrase feature. So if your goal is to diversify your crypto, this feature is one of the most convenient and secure ways to do that. Okay, now under the hood or inside the device, it's running the same EAL6 Plus secure element chip used in all of Ledger's newest models. That's the highest rated chip you'll find in any cold wallet right now. It literally doesn't get any better than that. And this chip is where your keys to your crypto are stored. And the reason your keys are stored in this chip is because it's immune to both remote and physical attacks. So the chip's sole job is to protect the keys to your crypto, which in turn protects your crypto. This is the exact same chip that's used in bank cards and electronic passports, and there's only a few manufacturers around the world who make this chip, and they've spent the last 40 years and billions of dollars hardening it, making it more secure, which is why hardware wallets use them. And of course, it wouldn't be a Ledger wallet without this secure screen, which is unique to Ledger. So most hardware wallets use a general purpose chip along with the secure element chip, and the general purpose chip is what drives the screen. However, this is the same kind of chip you'd find in a remote control or a toaster oven, and it's not built for security, so it can technically be a weak point. That's why Ledger does it a little differently. There's no general purpose chip inside of a Ledger wallet. The screen connects directly to the secure chip, so even if a hacker did get a hold of your wallet and try to inject some kind of malicious code between your screen and the chip, they would basically hit a wall because the secure chip is virtually impossible to penetrate. So really the point of the secure screen on any Ledger device is to ensure that what you see on your device is what you're actually signing. Okay, something else that's standard across all Ledger wallets is the firmware authenticity check. When you first set it up or anytime later, you can verify through Ledger Live that your device is legit and hasn't been tampered with. And another new feature that Ledger recently launched is called a transaction check. This lets the wallet analyze Ethereum transactions for potential threats before you sign them, giving you a little extra peace of mind and another layer of protection for your digital assets. So it makes accidentally signing a malicious smart contract approval a lot harder, which is important because that's one of the most common scams in crypto. Now, one last thing the Gen 5 comes with, which is exclusive to Ledger's touchscreen models, is the Ledger Recovery Key, which is another newer product they recently launched that a lot of people still don't know about. This is basically a secure backup card for your seed phrase. You just hold it up to the back of your wallet and it copies an encrypted version of your key onto the card. Then if you ever need to restore your wallet, you just tap it, enter your recovery key pin, and you're back in. And this key uses the same EAL6 secure element chip, has its own pin code and self-destruct mechanism as you'll find in any of the Ledger wallets, so it's equally secure as your Ledger device. Now, to be clear, this is not meant to be a replacement for writing down your seed phrase. You should still do that. However, it is a more secure and convenient option for backing up your seed phrase and recovering it. So yeah, this comes with the Gen 5 right out of the box. If you bought it on its own, it runs you about 40 bucks. If you want a full breakdown of how the Ledger Recovery Key works, I've dropped a video down in the description for you. Okay, one last thing I want to mention about security. Like all Ledger wallets, the Gen 5 is 95% open source, which a lot of people still don't know about Ledger wallets. So now you know. So all these features are great for securing your crypto, but one of my favorite features that all Ledger wallets offer is something outside of crypto. It's called the Security Key app, and what it does is it lets you use your Ledger wallet as a physical key for your online accounts, so things like Gmail, Facebook, X, and pretty much any platform that supports universal authentication, so it's an even more secure version of 2FA. So not only can you use this thing to protect your crypto, but it's basically a way to secure your entire digital identity. I'll drop a link to my video about Ledger's Security Key app in the description as well. Now, to wrap up security, there's still one thing that I want to make very clear. All Ledger wallets offer the same level of security, so it doesn't matter if you're buying their most affordable option, the Nano S Plus, or their most premium option, the Stacks, they all provide the same protection, so you don't need to spend a lot of money to get the top level security. What you're really paying for are usability upgrades and a few extra features. Now, speaking of usability, that's where the Gen 5 really shines. The whole point of Ledger's touchscreen lineup is to offer a more intuitive and seamless user experience, which is exactly what the crypto space lacks. And after testing more than 30 cold wallets over the last 5 years, I can tell you for a fact that usability is just as important as security. That said, if you've used the Flex or the Stacks before, the Gen 5 will feel instantly familiar because it works exactly the same. Like, literally, there's no difference. If you haven't used Ledger before, or you're coming from one of the older models, the Gen 5 is going to feel like a massive upgrade. The setup process is cleaner, more visual, and full of step-by-step plain language instructions, which is super important. And it doesn't just tell you what to do, it tells you why each step matters. Plus, the bigger touchscreen makes everything easier to see. Sending crypto and approving transactions is also super clear. Everything shows right there on the screen, so you always know exactly what you're approving. And to finalize a transaction, you just hold the confirm button. It's really simple. But none of this really matters if you can't actually use the wallet, and that's where compatibility comes in. So the Gen 5 will work with pretty much any device you have at home, whether that's a Mac, Windows, Linux desktop device, or an iOS or Android mobile device, and you can connect it to your computer using the included USB-C or connect it to your phone using encrypted Bluetooth. This makes it one of the most compatible wallets on the market right now. So yeah, I have no doubts that the Gen 5 is one of the most appealing wallets on the market today, considering how beginner focused and beginner friendly it is. And by far, it is the most appealing Ledger wallet right now. But it does share one drawback with the Flex and the Stacks. Now, All Ledger wallets support thousands of different cryptocurrencies and NFTs across numerous blockchain networks, which is a good thing. But it only has 1.5 megabytes of storage memory for the blockchain apps that you need to install on this wallet. Ledger wallets are a little different in that you need to download each individual blockchain app onto the actual wallet, and those apps handle private key generation, address verification, and transaction signing all inside of the secure element chip. And what's important about this design is that no app can talk to one another. So if an app has a bug or something, or for some reason an app was compromised, it wouldn't put any of the other apps at risk. So this is really an additional isolation and security feature. Now, with most apps ranging from 50 to 200 kilobytes, you can realistically keep around 10 to 20 apps installed at once. And this doesn't limit how much crypto you can hold. It just means if you use a lot of different blockchains, you might find yourself uninstalling and reinstalling apps more often. But even if you uninstall an app, it's not like your crypto disappears or it's at risk, because all of your private keys are controlled by your seed phrase. So as long as you have your seed phrase, you're always good. And when you reinstall an app, it's like nothing ever happened. So it's not anything you need to worry about. That said, I've never personally ran into the issue where I have to uninstall apps because I really only stick to the same 5 to 10 blockchain networks. And I haven't seen really a lot of other people run into the issue either. So yeah, maybe not ideal, but also not a deal breaker for me or, all the other people who use Ledger wallets. But if you're still on the fence, like maybe you're not sure how easy this wallet really is to set up and use, my Ledger wallet user guide in this next video will show you exactly how to use it. In that video, I use the Flex, but because it's identical to the Gen 5, it's the exact same steps. So check that out. God bless and peace out.